Hey, so I've been in several different prisons before. I know you weren't thinking about me, but this one was completely different. Dr. Sam Huddleston, you know him as the author of 5 Years to Life. He was taking a camera crew back to his former prison cell to document his testimony. He was sentenced to prison, and he started out at DVI in Tracy, California, which they actually lovingly referred to as Gladiator School. And he asked me, I was his admin at the time, and he said, "Hey, do you want to go?" And I jumped at the chance. I said, "Absolutely." The prison was like many of the others I'd been to. It was cold. It was institutional. It was institutional. It had clanging doors and big keys and security screenings. But I got to tell you, when we went into J Wing, that's where everything changed. It was like an old prison movie. This wasn't the dormitory of 60 Days In. This was straight up Shawshank. Literally dark, dank, and demonic. And as I stepped into J Wing, I could feel the presence of darkness. It began to hover over everyone, and I tried to keep as close as I could to the group. Anything I could do to de escalate my anxiety. I was feeling overwhelmed. My pulse was beating faster. My breathing, I felt, was becoming erratic. Lord, I think I'm having a panic attack in prison of all places. Mentally, I knew I wasn't an inmate. They were going to let me out at the end of the day, but emotionally, I got to be honest, I felt trapped. The bondage was palpable, and I didn't feel like my prayers were working till all of a sudden I heard these words: "Welcome, Dr. Sam Huddleston and friends." And at that moment, I turned around and I saw this guy. He almost seemed to be glowing. He was tall, African American gentleman with a commanding presence. He had a white shirt, black tie on, and a badge. His name was Warden Claude Finn, and I'll never forget it. His presence changed everything in the room that day. Inmates immediately began to come up to us. They began to thank him for specific things he'd done for them. The room went from fear and desperation to gladness and thanksgiving in one moment. Warden Finn knew who he was, and he knew the authority he carried. And by the way he carried himself, the presence he displayed, there was no doubt in anyone's mind that day who the leader was in the room. His presence quickly de escalated all of my fears. I got to tell you, I think back about this experience often, and it taught me so much about the link between authority and presence. The Lord teaches us in the natural in 1 Corinthians 15:46. It says he teaches us in the natural so that we may learn in the spiritual. First the natural, then the spiritual. And when I walk in my God-given authority physically and spiritually, I'm able to carry his presence. When I'm controlled by fear, I lose confidence and I hold back. I relinquish my authority, and those around me are left without hope and are powerless. But the Holy Spirit that day used Warden Finn to teach me about the principle of authority and its connection to presence. Walk in your God given authority, and you will walk in his presence.